Hello and welcome to this Migroto case review. My name is Damon Aryan, registered migration agent since 2013, and in this case review, I'm going through the applicant's situation and see how realistic are his chances to receive an invitation to apply for one of GSM visa subclasses 189, 190 or 491 in this financial year. Let's see the applicant's situation. The applicant's offshore, the occupation is ICT Customer Support Officer. The points claimed or to be claimed is 85 points with superior English, and applicant's marital status receives 5 points from his partner. This review is based on Migroto data, all collected from the government official sources and also some targeted FOI requests, all powered by RAI tools. And before making any decision based on this review, please make sure you read the disclaimer at the end of this video. Your current EOI is at 85 points, with 20 English points and 5 partner or single points. With state nomination, you reach 90 for 190 and 100 for 491. At these scores, you generally sit near the front of state queues, but exact timing depends on each state's offshore settings and occupation priorities. Because you're offshore, these 190 figures only show offshore invitations. In 2025-26, Victoria recorded one offshore round for your occupation, with the lowest invited score at 90 points. Your 190 score is 90, matching that Victorian offshore round's lowest level. That round favored very strong English at 20 points with no partner points, which is just one observed pattern. In 2024-25, South Australia offshore 190 rounds ranged from 80 to 100 points. In 2023-24, Australian Capital Territory and Victoria ranged between 75 and 95, showing shifting cutoffs by year. Across recent years, 190 invitations for ICT Customer Support Officers usually needed at least the low 80s. At 90, you're competitive for offshore states that keep your occupation open. Because you're offshore, these 491 figures only track offshore invitations. In 2025-26, there were no recorded offshore 491 invitation rounds for ICT Customer Support Officers. Your 491 score is 100. In 2024-25, offshore South Australia and Tasmania rounds invited between 90 and 110 points. So your score sits comfortably within that observed range. In 2023-24, offshore 491 rounds in Australian Capital Territory, New South Wales and Victoria invited between 65 and 90 points, again suggesting 100 points is a strong position when states are nominating. Given the recent lack of 2025-26 data, treat 491 as a strong backup to 190. Ready to use if regional states reopen offshore options for your occupation. ICT Customer Support Officer is a mid-sized occupation with about 46,200 workers, moderate part-time work, relatively low female participation, median weekly earnings around 1,687, and solid projected growth of about 5%. For 190, FOI data show 11 lodged applications in 2024-25, with fewer than 5 in 2023-24 and 2025-26. For 491, lodged applications were 6 in 2023-24 and under 5 afterwards. Using your assumption that only about 70% of invitations become lodged applications, that implies roughly 16 offshore 190 invitations in 2024-25 and about 9 offshore 491 invitations in 2023-24 at 90 points for 190. States typically show fewer than 20 EOIs at your level, with 0 or 6 ahead and you sitting roughly in the top 6 to 29% by state. Your occupation. At 100 points for 491, queues are similar, under 20 EOIs per state at your level, 0 or 6 ahead of you, and you're roughly in the top 8 to 7%. For Subclass 190, I'd treat this as your main goal. With 90 points after nomination, you're exactly at the level Victoria invited Offshore ICT Customer Support Officers in 2025-26, and the queues at that score look short. The challenge is that Offshore 190 rounds are selective and state-based, so focus on states that for Subclass 491, you sit at a very strong 100 points, comfortably above the offshore cutoffs we saw in 2023-24 and 2024-25. Backlog data suggests you're near the front of the queue when regional states are nominating. Because there were no recorded offshore 491 rounds in 2025-26, I treat 490. Overall, your scores position you well for both 190 and 491 once an offshore state opens its doors to ICT Customer Support Officers. The key now is timing and responsiveness, rather than squeezing out another point or two. Keep your evidence and skills assessment up to date, follow state nomination news closely, and be ready to tailor your EOI to any offshore-friendly criteria that appear. If a realistic onshore route emerges, that could broaden your options further. 21 as a flexible backup. Monitor original criteria closely and be prepared to lodge quickly if an offshore pathway appears. That have recently invited your occupation, like Victoria or South Australia, and be ready to meet any extra criteria as soon as they reopen.